After Xihao openly confronted the Qing clan cultivators, demanding compensation because they and Cai Minghong's followers had interfered with his attempt to obtain Dao comprehension tea leaves. Ignoring their protests that he had already robbed them once, Xihao calmly declared that the previous robbery had merely settled his debt with them, while now he was collecting interest for what Cai Minghong had done. Having witnessed his terrifying strength, the Qing clan experts had no choice but to suppress their anger and hand over another Dao comprehension tea leaf. Although humiliated, they dared not resist, fully aware that fighting Xihao would only bring greater losses. Meanwhile, Xihao casually sat beside the battlefield, roasting Cai Minghong's time beast leg over blazing Dao flames. He skillfully seasoned and cooked the meat as though he had done it countless times before. Astonishing everyone present, his relaxed attitude while openly cooking an Emperor clan member made the spectators both speechless and fearful, with many believing he must have roasted and eaten numerous powerful enemies in the past. The Qing clan cultivators soon decided to leave, believing that remaining near Xihao would only result in being robbed again. However, Xihao immediately stopped them, declaring that they still owed him another Dao comprehension tea leaf as interest. Furious yet powerless, they reluctantly stayed, hoping to obtain additional leaves from the Dao comprehension tea tree despite knowing Xihao might seize them again. While the other cultivators desperately fought over every Dao comprehension tea leaf falling from the altar, Xihao ignored the competition entirely and focused on enjoying his roasted time beast meat. The beast leg contained immense Dao law power, order chains, and countless fragments of the time Dao. Every bite allowed Xihao to absorb these time fragments, further improving his understanding of the reincarnation divine ability. Watching him calmly devour an Emperor clan member left everyone horrified, as no one throughout history had ever dared treat an Emperor clan as food. Even the elders beneath the Dao comprehension tea tree merely watched without intervening, while one of them coldly declared that once the Scarlet King emerged from seclusion, Xihao would inevitably face a terrifying reckoning, as even the other undying kings would struggle to protect him. After finishing the entire beast leg, Xihao praised it as an extraordinary tonic whose essence was comparable to several hundred years of cultivation, making it beneficial even to someone at his level. After his meal, Xihao searched Cai Minghong's corpse and discovered 5 jade containers hidden inside, each containing a Dao comprehension tea leaf. Delighted by his unexpected harvest, he stored away the remaining time beast body before collecting snow water from a distant frozen mountain to brew tea. Without hesitation, he placed all 5 Dao comprehension tea leaves into a single pot, an extravagance that left every spectator furious and envious. To them, each Dao comprehension tea leaf was an invaluable treasure worth risking one's life to obtain. Yet Xihao casually brewed all 5 together as if they were ordinary tea leaves. Once the tea was ready, its fragrance spread through the surroundings, filled with rich great Dao energy. Rather than slowly savoring it, Xihao drank the entire cup in one gulp before quietly entering a state of deep cultivation, fully immersing himself in comprehending the mysteries of heaven and earth. The combined essence of the 5 Dao comprehension tea leaves transformed into pure Dao liquid within Xihao's body, allowing his understanding of the great Dao to deepen dramatically. Brilliant Dao light erupted from him. Dazzling symbols continuously appeared around his body, and an overwhelming great Dao aura spread throughout the area. Even the unwilling Qing clan cultivators had to admit that Xihao's talent in cultivation was truly monstrous. The immense enlightenment provided by the 5 leaves enabled him to shatter the bottleneck that had restrained him. Having already reached the threshold of advancement after drinking an earlier cup of Dao comprehension tea, Xihao now successfully broke through into the late stage of the self-severing realm in a single attempt. His cultivation, Dao comprehension, and combat strength all increased tremendously, giving him even greater confidence in facing future opponents. The surrounding cultivators were completely stunned by the unbelievable scene. Xihao had simply eaten a roasted time beast leg, brewed 5 Dao comprehension tea leaves into one pot, and immediately achieved a major breakthrough. They felt the world was incredibly unfair, believing that no one else possessed such monstrous fortune or talent. Many realized that Xihao had become even more terrifying than before and that defeating him was now nearly impossible. Despite his young age, he had already reached the late self-severing realm and was not far from the self-release realm, a cultivation speed capable of breaking the records of the current era. As Xihao slowly opened his eyes after his breakthrough and looked around the battlefield with a calm but confident expression, many cultivators instinctively became nervous, fearing that his gaze meant he was preparing to rob everyone present once again. Xihao intimidated all the cultivators with his fierce gaze, making every Qing clan expert feel as if they had become prey before a starving wolf. He demanded that the Qing clans who had previously targeted him hand over the Dao comprehension tea leaves they had obtained as repayment for their hostility. Having already suffered enormous losses and remembering that even Kai Minghong had been killed and eaten by Xihao, they did not dare resist. They reluctantly surrendered another tea leaf, believing that preserving their lives was more important than keeping the reward. Delighted with the unexpected gain, Xihao immediately turned his attention to the earthen altar to gather more Dao comprehension tea leaves on his own. He successively used the Kun Peng technique, tearing through the barrier with its yin-yang divine claws to obtain several tea leaf containers before stopping to conserve magical power. He then switched to the willow deity technique, transforming his arm into a golden divine chain that repeatedly shattered the barrier to seize another 5 containers. Afterward, he displayed the terrifying reincarnation technique, whose time-related laws filled everyone with fear, allowing him to obtain another 5 containers. He continued by unleashing Heaven Calamity Light, the 6 Dao reincarnations heavenly art, and finally activated his body as the seed cultivation path, drawing immense power from his sea of reincarnation to break through the barrier repeatedly. By carefully alternating his techniques while conserving strength for possible future battles, Xihao ultimately harvested several dozen containers of Dao comprehension tea leaves. When everything was counted, he possessed 49 tea leaves in a single jade vessel, leaving every Qing clan and Emperor clan genius speechless, while ordinary Qing clans had struggled desperately just to obtain 3 or 4 leaves. Xihao alone had collected dozens with overwhelming speed and power, proving why he had been capable of defeating Kai Minghong. After finishing his harvest, Xihao shifted his attention from the altar to the cultivators themselves. He pointed at 3 Qing clans that had continuously released killing intent toward him ever since he arrived, making it clear that he had remembered every hostile glance. He demanded 3 Dao comprehension tea leaves from each clan as compensation. When they denied any enmity, Xihao mockingly twisted their words, claiming that if they owed each other nothing, then it must be they who owed him instead. One Qing clan expert angrily protested, while another openly threatened him, claiming that this was their territory and warning him of the consequences. Xihao replied that he hated being threatened more than anything and declared that he had never intended to leave this world alive anyway. He instantly unleashed his lightning fist, filling the sky with countless bolts of lightning before smashing through the opponent's defenses. The Qing clan genius was obliterated by a single punch, his body exploding into blood mist before being completely incinerated by the lightning. The effortless kill horrified everyone present, although they had already witnessed Xihao defeat Kai Minghong. Seeing a powerful Qing clan elite erased with a single strike completely shattered their confidence. Terrified of suffering the same fate, the 3 Qing clans immediately surrendered 9 Dao comprehension tea leaves. Xihao politely thanked them for their generosity, making their humiliation even greater. Even after obtaining more than 50 Dao comprehension tea leaves, Xihao casually remarked that they were still not enough for him to drink, nearly driving everyone present mad with frustration. The surrounding Qing clans looked toward the Emperor clan geniuses such as Yu Yu, Mo Xian, and Wu Kun, hoping they would suppress Xihao. However, none of them acted. Yu Yu wanted revenge but had only recently watched Xihao advance into the late self-severing realm after drinking tea directly beneath the ancient tree. Knowing his own cultivation was still lacking, he decided to first return and break through before seeking another battle. The remaining Emperor clan geniuses reached the same conclusion, choosing to focus on cultivation instead of confronting Xihao immediately. As fear spread among the Qing clans, one cultivator secretly transmitted his voice, encouraging everyone to unite and overwhelm Xihao through numbers. However, Xihao's body as the seed cultivation gave him extraordinarily sharp spiritual senses, allowing him to instantly detect the hidden speaker. He disappeared from his original position, appeared before the instigator in an instant, and shattered him with another devastating punch. Witnessing a second Qing clan genius die in a single blow completely destroyed the morale of the remaining cultivators. Many immediately surrendered 3 Dao comprehension tea leaves without resistance, allowing Xihao to collect another dozen or more leaves. Chaos soon erupted as some attempted to flee while others desperately tried to fight back. But Xihao suppressed them all with overwhelming force. Before the elders guarding the ancient tea tree finally intervened to stop the conflict and prevent greater casualties. Xihao had accumulated well over 120 Dao Comprehension tea leaves, becoming the greatest beneficiary of the Dao Comprehension tea gathering by an overwhelming margin. After everything ended, Xihao smiled warmly and invited everyone to share the roasted time beast, describing the Emperor clan flesh as an extraordinary tonic capable of compensating for all of their losses. Although many cultivators secretly longed to taste such an unimaginably rare delicacy, none dared accept because doing so would make them enemies of the Scarlet King's bloodline. Xihao then joked that since no one wished to eat with him, he would simply stew the Dao Comprehension tea leaves together with the time beast meat himself. His words left everyone furious yet powerless to respond. Finally, Xihao prepared to brew all of his Dao Comprehension tea leaves, hoping to break through from the late self-severing realm into the self-release realm. Deep inside, he also harbored an even more shocking ambition. Once he reached the self-release realm, he wanted to attempt the impossible and kill one or two supreme beings before his own inevitable fate arrived. Xihao realized that after causing such a massive disturbance, the attitudes of the foreign side's undying beings could change at any time, making his situation increasingly dangerous the longer he remained there. Beneath the Dao Comprehension tea tree, several elders secretly discussed astonishing rumors circulating among the highest ranks. According to the rumors, the Undying Kings had no intention of killing Xihao despite his identity as a human genius. Instead, they had deliberately issued the Undying Decree to pardon him because they wanted to cultivate him for another purpose. Some elders believed the Undying Kings regarded every genius, no matter how extraordinary, as insignificant ants, even if Xihao eventually became a true immortal after countless years of cultivation. They could still kill him effortlessly whenever they wished. Others believed Xihao was merely bait, intended to lure out even more ancient and terrifying prehistoric beings hidden behind Imperial Pass. Since these rumors involved forbidden secrets concerning the Undying King's plans for this era, none of the elders dared discuss them further. Because of this uncertainty, they restrained themselves from attacking Xihao directly and instead hoped Scarlet King would eventually emerge from seclusion and eliminate him personally. The Dao Comprehension tea ceremony ended far earlier than expected because Xihao had completely disrupted the event. Normally, the ceremony would conclude with intense battles among the various kings and emperor clan descendants competing for the remaining Dao Comprehension tea leaves. However, Xihao single-handedly changed everything. Although several kings fought against him, the emperor clan's young elites never even had the opportunity to participate before the gathering was forced to end. After everyone descended Dao Comprehension Mountain, almost no one dared approach Xihao. His overwhelming strength had left everyone believing that anyone who got too close would simply become another victim. His reputation spread throughout the foreign lands, not as a respected genius but as an infamous and terrifying demon-like figure. Meanwhile, the cultivators whose tea leaves had been stolen were furious because Xihao had taken more than 120 immortal tea leaves for himself. Yet none of them dared challenge him again after witnessing his terrifying combat strength. At the foot of the mountain, Xihao noticed an elderly human woman protecting several human children. The foreign cultivators descending the mountain radiated overwhelming killing intent, terrifying the old woman and leaving the children traumatized. A little girl cried helplessly while the other children were so frightened they had forgotten how to cry. Xihao immediately stepped forward and coldly shouted at the surrounding cultivators, instantly driving away all members of the king clans. The old woman was astonished that a single human youth could intimidate so many powerful foreign cultivators. The little girl tearfully asked Xihao whether he had come to save them. Xihao gently comforted the children, rubbed their heads, picked up the little girl, and assured them they no longer needed to be afraid. His actions gave the children hope, and the narration later revealed that when the little girl eventually grew into a supreme expert herself, she would always remember Xihao as the person who tore apart the darkness surrounding her childhood and gave her a new future. Xihao remained at the foot of the mountain until Mo Xian arrived, believing that she still possessed kindness because of her relationship with Mo Dao. Xihao entrusted the old woman and the children to her protection. He admitted that as a captive living among the foreign races, Bringing the children with him would only place them in greater danger. Mo Xian accepted without hesitation and quietly expressed hope that her younger brother Mo Dao was also safe. Before she left, Xihao stopped her and gifted her 10 immortal Dao comprehension tea leaves. The surrounding kings were stunned because the same Xihao who had robbed them without mercy was now willingly giving away such priceless treasures. Although they felt resentful and jealous, none of them dared provoke Mo Xian due to her extraordinary status. Raised by an ancient emperor clan despite being human, she enjoyed treatment equal to the emperor clan's direct descendants. After accepting the gift, Mo Xian answered Xihao's question about suitable cultivation grounds and recommended Oceanfall, warning him that the place contained unimaginable dangers where even the undying kings could not guarantee anyone's survival if they ventured too deeply into its mysteries. Xihao immediately set out for Oceanfall, traveling hundreds of thousands of li before finally arriving. The place completely defied common sense. It was a boundless gray ocean suspended high in the sky, roaring endlessly like an enormous waterfall. Unlike ordinary waterfalls, however, the ocean did not fall downward. Instead, it flowed upward from the earth into the heavens. The water mysteriously emerged from the ground without any visible source, beginning exactly 3 feet above the surface before surging upward endlessly into the sky. The upper end of the ocean disappeared beyond sight, where fragments of time floated like flower petals alongside faint rivers of time drifting through the heavens. Upon witnessing this extraordinary phenomenon, Xihao immediately realized Oceanfall was an unparalleled sacred land deeply connected to the mysteries of time itself. Upon reaching Oceanfall, Xihao discovered several mysterious cultivators quietly seated before the floating ocean. Each held a fishing rod while remaining perfectly motionless like ancient statues. Although they emitted almost no aura, Xihao could sense that every one of them possessed extraordinary status. Among them, he immediately recognized Sanzeng and Shenming, the golden undead knights whom he had previously encountered in Burial Abyss. Shenming retained her stunning beauty with scarlet gold armor, while Sanzeng shone with brilliant golden hair and an incomparably holy aura despite both being undead beings. After greeting Xihao warmly, Sanzeng explained that they were fishing. Confused by the answer, Xihao asked what exactly they hoped to catch. Shenming solemnly replied that they were fishing for a fragment of time connected to a future era where darkness would cover the world. Blood would stain countless ancient graves, and chaos would consume everything. Sanzeng further revealed that he was fishing for an entire cycle of reincarnation involving 3 burials, 3 destructions, and the reincarnation of 3 worlds, hinting at incomprehensible mysteries governing time, reincarnation, and the fate of countless eras. Xihao encountered Sanzeng and Shenming once again at Oceanfall. Although the 2 golden undead knights greeted him warmly, Xihao remained extremely cautious. He had never underestimated them because they were self-release realm golden undead knights whose status and strength greatly surpassed ordinary undead knights, even exceeding figures such as Kai Minghong and Yu Yu. Ever since they had survived their expedition into the Burial Abyss and come into contact with the mysterious origin ancient artifact, Xihao had sensed that they were no longer exactly the same. He remembered the legends that burial kings who explored the Burial Abyss often returned with the same appearance but an entirely different will, as if a new being had replaced the original one. This made him suspect that Sanzeng and Shenming had also undergone an unimaginable transformation. Xihao also recalled his own experience with the Prison of Darkness when cultivating his second strand of immortal energy, believing that the Burial Abyss was connected to that terrifying place through a hidden opening. Because of these experiences, he no longer regarded the 2 as ordinary golden undead knights and suspected that their true identities were so extraordinary that they could even make the undying beings fear them. Sanzeng greeted Xihao with his usual warm smile and asked why he had come to Oceanfall. Xihao answered that he was merely wandering and had come because the place was special. Shenming then remarked that Xihao seemed even more impressive than when they had last met. Xihao politely praised her beauty in return, calling her comparable to an immortal fairy. However, inwardly, he became even more vigilant because he could clearly sense that both Sanzeng and Shenming had become even more extraordinary than before. Shenming laughed happily at his compliment and playfully invited him to join her bloodline. Xihao tactfully avoided giving a direct answer, instead saying that they were already friends and there was no need to speak as strangers. Shenming then suggested that they travel together. even teasing that Xihao could become her closest companion. Xihao did not refuse outright because he had no intention of provoking these two extremely dangerous individuals while he still did not understand their true intentions. At the same time, he wondered why two powerful undead knights had left the burial region. He suspected they were either wandering as they had claimed before or secretly searching for something connected to the strange events that had occurred within the burial abyss. Sanzing quickly noticed Xihao's vigilance and openly asked whether he suspected that they were no longer themselves. Shenming admitted that the path they had chosen inevitably required paying a price. Some things would be lost while others would be gained, but she firmly insisted that they remained who they originally were. When Xihao asked what path they had chosen, Sanzing revealed without hesitation that they were walking the path of burial kings. The revelation shocked Xihao because it meant they were attempting to become burial kings themselves. Sanzing explained that this secret was extremely dangerous. If the undying beings discovered it, they would likely interfere and try to stop the rise of new burial kings within the burial region. He further explained that this was why they cherished every being capable of accompanying them until the end of time, whether friend or enemy. Shenming then spoke of an even darker future, saying that one day the entire world might be buried, the land destroyed, and all life wiped out. In such an era, even meeting an old enemy would become something precious because almost no familiar people would survive until the end. Sanzing added that the most terrifying era was approaching and that very few of Xihao's companions would remain alive. He believed Xihao had a chance to survive because he had endured the presence of the origin ancient artifact without losing himself, proving he possessed extraordinary qualities. They also casually revealed that they had long known Xihao was a human rather than a golden undead knight, causing another wave of shock in Xihao's mind. Still unconvinced, Xihao questioned whether they had truly remained themselves after walking the path of burial kings. Shenming responded through actions rather than words. She approached Xihao, embraced his arm, and allowed him to witness part of her true state. Xihao saw two completely different aspects existing within her soul. One side was enchanting, smiling brilliantly with unmatched charm, while the other side was imprisoned in grief, silently weeping in endless sorrow. Shenming explained that this duality represented the price of the path of burial kings. Although part of herself had changed forever, her core identity had not disappeared. After seeing this terrifying scene firsthand, Xihao finally became certain that both Sanzing and Shenming had indeed undergone an astonishing transformation that ordinary cultivators could never understand. Sanzing invited Xihao once more to continue traveling with them, but Xihao politely declined, saying that their cultivation paths were fundamentally different. Shenming smiled and replied that although their paths differed now, they might cross again in the future. She suggested that one day either they would summon Xihao or Xihao himself would summon them at the Guidance Ancient Palace. Feeling increasingly unable to understand these mysterious figures, Xihao deliberately changed the topic after noticing another young man quietly fishing at Oceanfall. Shenming explained that the man was trying to fish for an unparalleled opportunity within the great world, while Sanzing revealed that he was one of the inheritors of one of the most ancient undying kings. Xihao was greatly surprised by this revelation. When Shenming finally asked Xihao what he himself had come to fish for, he simply smiled and answered that he had come only to fish for fish. Xihao arrived at Oceanfall with Sanzing and Shenming and casually said that he wanted to fish there. The two golden undead knights were initially astonished, believing no ordinary fish could possibly exist in such a mysterious place. However, instead of mocking him, they interpreted his words as reflecting a profound return to one's original nature and praised him for possessing a Tao heart that surpassed their own. Xihao accepted their praise with an awkward smile before noticing a mysterious cultivator sitting motionless nearby. Sanzing explained that the man was an heir of an ancient immortal king lineage who had been meditating there for several years without moving, protected by immortal secret treasures and possessing an unshakable Tao heart. He could not be killed even if someone attacked him directly, making him an extremely dangerous opponent for the future. Shenming then proposed that the three of them travel together after finishing their cultivation, explaining that they hoped to help Xihao overcome the great calamity awaiting him, since Xihao remained a captive whose freedom would disappear once the immortal kings returned. He agreed to accompany them. He then sat before Oceanfall, using the great Tao as his fishing rod, magical power as the fishing line, and divine abilities as the hook to begin fishing. Oceanfall itself was an incomparably mysterious place whose source and destination had never been discovered. Even immortal beings who attempted to trace its flow had vanished forever, including a dying immortal king after the immortal ancient war. Some believed the river was a tributary of the legendary World Sea where countless rivers eventually converged. It was also regarded as a wish river capable of granting unimaginable opportunities or disasters to cultivators who meditated beside it, making Tao comprehension there both dangerous and rewarding. Xihao later brewed several Tao comprehension tea leaves and invited Sanzeng and Shenming to drink with him. While drinking, he sensed the gates within his body trembling and opening further, greatly enhancing his understanding of the Tao. However, he realized that this enlightenment alone was insufficient for him to break through into the late stage of the self-severing realm, because such a major cultivation advancement required far more than Tao comprehension tea could provide. While quietly fishing, Xihao suddenly felt an enormous force tugging on his line. The magical fishing line instantly became taut as though an unimaginably huge creature had taken the hook. Sanzeng and Shenming were completely stunned because they had never imagined that living creatures could exist within Oceanfall. As Xihao struggled with all his strength, an enormous dorsal fin thousands of zhang long broke through the water's surface, proving that he had truly caught something. Believing the creature had absorbed the essence of countless worlds over endless years and would become an invaluable supreme treasure, Xihao shouted for the two golden undead knights to help him reel it in. While Xihao continued battling the giant creature, Sanzeng and Shenming hurriedly searched through ancient jade records they had brought from the burial region. Among the records they discovered an old anecdote describing the existence of the ancestral fry, an extremely rare fish born from the source of Oceanfall. The record stated that even seeing one during an entire great era was extraordinarily rare. They also mentioned that before becoming a burial king, one supreme expert had once disappeared together with an ancestral fry for a period of time. Even newly hatched ancestral fry measured tens of thousands of zhang in length, making it impossible to imagine the true size of a fully grown ancestral fish. As the magical fishing line was about to snap under the tremendous force, Sanzeng immediately decided that they had to pursue the creature at all costs because capturing an ancestral fry might dramatically shorten their path toward becoming burial kings. After learning its identity, Xihao acted without hesitation. He leapt directly into Oceanfall, grabbed the giant dorsal fin with his own hands, and allowed himself to be carried through the endless waters. Sanzeng and Shenming quickly followed him onto the creature's back. None of them knew where they were heading, but according to the ancient records, only the ancestral fry could freely travel through Oceanfall and return to its birthplace, a mysterious land rumored to contain immense karma, extraordinary opportunities, and astonishing ancient secrets. Xihao jumped into Oceanfall, and news quickly spread that he had escaped by riding a giant fish. The young master of the Moon Demon King clan dismissed the report as complete nonsense, believing no living creature could survive inside Oceanfall, let alone a fish. Furious, he accused the messenger of lying and even suspected he had gone mad. The servant repeatedly swore that many people had witnessed the scene and urged the young master to see it for himself before the fish disappeared. Although still unconvinced, the young master followed him to Oceanfall. Upon arriving at a divine mountain overlooking the waterfall, the moon demon young master was completely stunned. Xihao and the two golden undead knights were indeed sitting near the giant fish's dorsal fin as it rode the raging currents and ascended Oceanfall. The fish was unimaginably huge, stretching tens of thousands of zhang in length, since no one had ever seen even a single fish in Oceanfall before. Many wondered if it was a reincarnated Kun Peng that had come to rescue Xihao. Realizing Huang was truly escaping, the young master immediately used a King Clan soundwave technique to alert the entire region. In reality, many experts had already been secretly monitoring Xihao from a distance. Witnessing the giant fish carrying him through Oceanfall left everyone in disbelief. Oceanfall had always been regarded as a place where every living creature inevitably perished. Yet Xihao was escaping in the most unbelievable way imaginable. Rumors spread rapidly as countless cultivators rushed to report the incident. Meanwhile, Xihao, Sanzeng, and the other golden undead knight remained extremely cautious aboard the ancestral fry. They maintained a magical barrier around themselves to prevent the dangerous waters from touching their bodies, knowing that Oceanfall was capable of erasing both body and soul. Sanzing explained that following the ancestral fry might guarantee their safety and perhaps even grant them extraordinary fortune, though it could just as easily lead them into an abyss of death. The enormous fish repeatedly swam beneath the water before bursting back above the surface while continuing its ascent. As more observers caught sight of it, its appearance became clear. It possessed the head of a tyrant dragon with sharp teeth and a pair of massive black horns, while its body resembled a gigantic black carp covered in scales that occasionally emitted a dark crimson glow. Every swing of its tail sent towering waves into the sky, enough to engulf mountain ranges and fill the heavens with endless sprays of water. Several powerful cultivators attempted to stop the fish by unleashing ancestral techniques, but every attack was neutralized upon entering Oceanfall. The waterfall itself possessed mysterious laws that dissolved all offensive symbols, making it impossible for anyone to harm the ancestral fry. It was as though Oceanfall served as the fish's natural sanctuary and protected it from all outside interference. As news of Huang's escape spread across the foreign realm, transport formations continuously relayed urgent reports. Everyone understood that Oceanfall's disappearing endpoint likely connected to another world. If Xihao escaped there, he would slip beyond the control of the foreign realm, since the immortal kings had specifically ordered that Huang be captured alive. The possibility of his successful escape terrified every clan. An undying being immediately responded by communicating with the World Tree through a sacrificial ritual. Using one of the World Tree's colossal branches, he attempted to suppress Oceanfall from afar. Xihao suddenly felt overwhelming pressure descending from the heavens. The World Tree appeared like the end of the world itself, each leaf as vast as a star and overflowing with chaotic energy, carrying the terrifying might of a world-creating divine tree. However, at the crucial moment, the ancestral fry dived deep beneath Oceanfall, causing the terrifying pressure to suddenly weaken. Although the World Tree was unimaginably powerful, it ultimately failed to affect Oceanfall because the natural laws surrounding its disappearing endpoint were too strange, existing beyond even the World Tree's influence. Seeing Xihao on the verge of escaping, one undying being proposed using an extreme method to kill him despite the previous decree guaranteeing his safety. Another undying immediately objected, reminding him that Xihao carried 6 undying imprints placed upon him by their earlier decree and that killing him would be impossible to explain to their great ancestors. Nevertheless, the first undying insisted that allowing a mere junior cultivator to escape would be an even greater humiliation. He formed a mysterious seal, releasing an undying secret technique that filled the heavens with primal chaos lightning. Xihao instantly sensed a fatal crisis approaching, believing death was imminent, though he did not know that an undying being had personally targeted him. At that decisive moment, the ancestral fry suddenly leapt out of Oceanfall, releasing mysterious black radiance while countless ancient ancestral inscriptions appeared across its back. According to the 2 golden undead knights, these symbols belonged to one of the oldest ancestral scripts in existence. The fish's mysterious power completely neutralized the undying being's secret technique, protecting Xihao and his companions. Immediately afterward, the ancestral fry carried the 3 beyond Oceanfall's disappearing endpoint. The fish seemed to leap directly into the heavens before gradually fading from sight together with Xihao and the 2 golden undead knights, successfully leaving the foreign world. The undying being was deeply shocked that his secret technique had been completely blocked by the mysterious fish. Another undying recognized its identity, declaring that it was an ancestral fry that had once escaped the legendary river and broken free from the fate imposed upon it. Realizing that more than an entire great era had passed since an ancestral fry had last appeared, the undying beings became extremely solemn, understanding that its reappearance signaled an event of extraordinary significance.